Hi, welcome back to Guessagaingaming and to Watch Dogs Legion, and today I'm in, it's not far from Hackney, a little bit south of Hackney. It's about as far in the north east of the game as you can get. And today I wanted to talk about something that kind of, it was triggered by something I saw on a channel talking about PlayStation games, and they were talking about the new PlayStation sale, which I'm always following. And I buy all my games in sales, and they were talking about the fact that there's digital games that are more than physical copies, and it's something I've touched on the channel before, and I thought that's just weird. Everything about it is weird and wrong, because you're not talking about games that obviously they don't have distribution, they're digital, so there's no physical making of the game. They should be cheaper than the physical copy, and it's Sony selling them themselves. It's not someone selling them in a store, so you know there's no reason Sony would be selling digital games more than physical games. It's odd. And then you've got the thing that they if we've got a PlayStation 5 digital with no disc drive, so again selling games where they're digital which are more expensive is like that's a bit odd, especially as some people have now got a console which doesn't offer a physical version anyway, unless you get the separate equipment to use it. So it's all a bit odd and a bit and then I was thinking, like on a bigger level, like about which is really what it is, it's the great digital rip-off, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Back in the day of PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, when you got a game, doesn't matter whether it's Doom or Hexen, is an annoying game I played for huge amounts of time with great frustration. You've just bought the game, you got it on a disc, you got it, you put it into your machine and you loaded it up and played the game. There was no DLC because there was no option for that. There was no monetization, no shops because there was no option for that. There was no early access because there was no option for that. There was no buy the game early and you get this special little mission that you don't get if you don't buy early, because there was no option for that. And the game had to be ready. The game had to be fully ready and not buggy and not broken, because there was no option to fix it once the disc was shipped. And all those games, when you think back to all those games, as I said, Hexen, Doom, there's loads. I think Nightmare Creatures I used to play tons as well. That's a great game. So many of them remade that. Anyway, all those games were perfect. They weren't perfect, but they were not buggy, not broken, and you got the disc and everything played like it was supposed to. And now we've got the opposite, because they have the option to fix games after, because of the way digital is. You have games that are shipped out that are buggy and broken or missing content, and they can just we'll fix it later, which is, I've said this many times before, that's completely wrong. They wouldn't do that in any other industry. They wouldn't be able to, they wouldn't get away with it, and they wouldn't be able to. And then all the other parts to this, which is the DLCs, skins, shops, pre-order, buy early and get a special mission that you don't get a special character you don't get. All this stuff is a digital rip-off, because none of that is necessary to a game. Games aren't better. I mean, obviously games have got better in the context of graphics and some of the stories, but that's only because everything in technology has got better. A physical disc of a game is a lot better. So let's just compare physical disc with no DLCs and no online stuff. If you bought a physical disc of Watch Dogs Legion, it will be what it is. And that would be a lot better than a game from PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 era, because it would be. But even without any DLCs or any skins or any shops or anything else, it would just be better. So obviously gaming has evolved in the context of technology, but it's devolved in the context of how that technology is used, because apart from whether games look better and run better and the machines are better, everything else has gone down the pan. Because you've got all these rip-offs I've just mentioned, which are just extra ways to get money off people. Either ways to get money off people, which is bad enough, or they're excuses to sell games half-baked and then fix them later, or we won't worry about the content, we can always add a bit more, we won't worry about the fact that it's not optimised, we can do that later. And all parts of that are wrong. Every part of this digital thing is wrong. Digital games could have been a way to really help push games forward. It could have been a thing where, DLC could have been a good thing. If it was just literally worthwhile DLC, that would have been a good thing, I agree. and maybe some little bits of skins, but instead it's become this mass market rip-off where these DLCs that should be in games, that happens all the time, not just on PlayStation, it happens on DLCs that should be part of actual games, he's just stuck into DLC content, bits of pieces of different, happens with PC games all the time, different playable enemies, playable factions aren't in the game until you buy DLCs. Then you've got all the other things I mentioned, like shops and monetization, pay to win, early access, Early access is another thing which wouldn't have been possible earlier. And not all these things would necessarily be inherently bad, but so many of them are being abused because they can, and it's made digital gaming an absolute negative compared to early gaming, because early gaming you didn't have any of these hassles, and even if some of these things have made some of our games better, and I've got DLC for Watch Dogs Legion, of course I have, and other games. In the old days when you bought a disc, it was a ready game that you just bought. No one was going to try and sell you a different edition or a different bit, and it wasn't going to be buggy, and you didn't have to buy bits and pieces to fix it, and you didn't have to buy a different faction because it wasn't in the game. And it's just become a negativity. It's become negative. Almost everything they do with DLCs now, digital games has become, or digital options, let's not digital games, because you can buy a physical game and then you can still buy digital content for that game. And it's all become very monetarised and very monetarised or lazy. Like I said, let's release a rubbish game that's buggy and got no content, and we'll just fix it later on because we can do that, or if not, we'll let modders do that if it's on Steam. Guessagaingaming and my little rant about digitalisation. Like I said, I don't think inherently digitalisation in games is bad, but because gaming companies are inherently greedy and awful, it's become bad. Anyway, thanks for watching. Till next time, take care for now.